good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
What's greetings, Earthlings? What up?
Any demographic I identify with.
They're connected to our president.
I think an ignorant voter and a non-voter
Crazy what he did. He took the military out
are
before
one and
he
the
took
same.
the civilians. Who does that?
Under his watch.
What
Know
has
something,
he done
bro.
about police reform in this country? Nothing.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to Unsolicited Genius. I am your curator, Carlton and I am with my chapter frat brother in blue for life, Craig Lindo. On today's show, we will talk about the house not being a home and give an NFL season wrap-up. We hope to give you something to ponder.
Happy Founders Day, CI.
Happy Founders Day, brother Craig. What it do?
10 toes on the top side of the soil, my boy. That's all. That's the goal.
So we've been in the frat for a minute. This is my 25th year. You just hit your 25th year. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So what it do, old school? Old ski-woski?
Yeah. I guess I'm supposed to be old school now, right? I got a couple O's before
Man, you've been old school. You've been old school.
Well, look, I'm glad to see it. Like, I'm at a point now where I say I've been in my field for so long that, like, it's to the point where I see my former students. I get to see them leave from K through 12. Some of them wind up in a university college setting, and some of them wind up pledging. Some of them wind up pledging blue and white. Some of them wind up pledging other organizations. But I'm at a point where I get to see you go through puberty and then go through your intake process. Like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So cool. Let's go off script. All right, this is off script for a minute. So for our listening audience, watching and or listening audience, we didn't plan this part, but for 25 years, you had yours. I'm coming up on mine. Shout out Spring 98. Give one favorite frat memory.
The road trip to Conclave in either 98 or 99. I want to say 99. The road trip to Conclave from Gainesville to Texas.
Okay,
that was epic.
What about it can you talk about? Protect the innocent. That's always our underlying theme. So what from that trip can you share that made it the memory?
You know how we were, dog. Like, we in the middle of the step show. You had one or two cats making eye contact with judges while they stepping, winking and flirting with judges. You got cats. You got the little stop throughs on the way there. That scary ass stop in Mississippi, finding out how racist it really could be. Having your lady on the trip with you, and all the drama that could come from that. It was a lot going on. If I of course, reality TV wasn't popping at the time, but
good thing.
I imagine that trip is something like taping a reality TV episode. I also remember enjoying both. I think it was in Dallas, but we did make a little skid over to Houston or whatever and all that. I remember that trip was that amongst the road trips were some of the best. What frat or not, even just the Gainesville location, 2 hours south, Orlando, lit. 2 hours east, Bethune, lit. 2 hours west, Tampa, lit. 2 hours north, Tallahassee, lit. An extra 2 hours north, you're in Georgia. Not even 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, one of the primary standout memories for me was that road trip, and I still have a picture that was taken from that trip. Mm-hmm. I look at it pretty often. What about you, dog?
Man, the road trips was fun. I think for me, the misbehaviors made him a little stressful. In particular, when, you know, what we say out of town, well, we would be the out of towners, but when frat, you know, wherever we were traveling, wanted to let us know, you know, their stature, their status on campus, it got, you know, it got a little stressful. So for me, I would say probably the only time that I've played paintball, the only time that I've played paintball, we did so as a frat. I'd say it was about 15, 20 of us, somewhere outside of Gainesville. And it was like the you know, No Limit Soldiers unleashed, and just getting a chance to just go out there and do our thing. And you know, we had some friends that were with us. Some of the frat supporters, if not unofficial doves. I
cheated in that outing. Like they told us, I remember the instructors told us specifically not to climb the trees. What's the first thing I did?
We didn't follow no rules. We got shot in the face.
Sniper position and started picking people off.
Yeah. So, you know, it was to be with my brothers, my frat brothers, and be able to be big ass kids, you know, but do it with the theme music in the background, if not out loud in our heads. And the photo, if I ever find it, I'll post it. I know it's out there somewhere. But the photo that we took at the end kind of captured, you know, the whole experience. So a lot of good memories, the step shows, the parties, the brotherhood socials, the service projects even. I remember the Habitat for Humanity, and, you know, we were out there building homes. You know, so, and just for the audience, we are members of the world famous Zeta Kappa chapter out of the University of Florida. But, you know, shout out to Sigma Kappa Sigma, the grad chapter out here in Austin here with me, got on our Vote shirt. All right, well, today, you know, I'm not gonna hold you, I'm not gonna hold our audience. We do have a college football championship to watch, although Georgia is putting this flat act. Well, I'm going for TCU, but Georgia's hopped out to 24/7. It's 8 minutes or so left in the second quarter, so I don't know if we got much of a game, but, you know, being the last game of the season, I want us to be able to, you know, at least appreciate it, say bye-bye to college football. So we're just gonna, you know, this is gonna be a abbreviated version of Unsolicited Genius. No breaks. We're just gonna hit our primary segments and keep it moving. Fair?
Deuces.
All right. So for the headliner, I wanted to hop into the House of Representatives. So Kevin McCarthy got the biz handed to him in the bid to become Speaker of the House. I think it took 14 votes, if I'm correct, or 14 to the 15th. I had to double check the stats, but needless to say, it's been more than a century that it's taken this long for a speaker to be elected, in particular in the House where the Republicans rule. They didn't want him. But the thing that stood out for me is that the people that didn't want him were MAGA's finest, the far right election deniers to the likes of Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert. So, you know, amongst all of the shenanigans and the hoopla that has transpired in the last several years, Trump as president, Trump denying the election, Trumpity Trump, and then the rhetoric, the damning to hell of the Democrats, the resistance of Biden, and all the stuff that's happening, I thought the Republicans were getting what they want. But when we see the midterm elections didn't go the way they want, and despite having the House, it's still not going the way they prescribe it to go. And the thing that just comes to my mind is great philosopher and civil rights leader Malcolm X, when he said the chickens coming home to roost. And to me, this excites me because I feel like the chaos that the Republicans created in our democracy is ultimately the chaos that is going to prevent them from taking hold of our country in the way that some of us fear, and in the way that all of this hoopla was designed to do. So I'm a little bit happy. What say you?
I'm entertained more than happy.
Okay.
I'm tickled. Like,
all right.
Once I saw 6 attempts, I was like, oh, I don't even like popcorn. But
you don't like popcorn?
Nah, it just makes me hungrier. What kind of shit is that? I eat it and I get hungrier? I'm supposed to eat and get full. Fuck popcorn.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back. This not
I
digress.
get hungry. That's no point.
Yeah, you might have just hurt my feelings, but let's not digress. Go ahead.
Yo, no, but so I'm entertained by the chaos. Like I said, I have not been jumped in or initiated by either side. So like, I don't like, you know what I'm saying? It's whatever. Mm-hmm. So, watching this is entertaining to me. However, it makes me cautious, because if this is how they're starting, I think the 118th Senate or something like that, mm-hmm. There's only up for them to go. And I'm cautious because he had to make concessions and sell pieces of his soul to eventually get the vote. Those pieces that he sold may come back to haunt various demographics of taxpayers tremendously. So,
yep.
You know, they only have up to go. Their organization started as crap. All they could do is coagulate and team up from here. And the fact that he made whatever concessions he made, you know how they go. They're going to stand by their guy, even if their guy is low on principle, because for many of them, it's party over principle. Principles do not take priority over the party or the party agenda, or supporting your party mate, even though they are dead wrong. So that's my caution. I want to see, I earmarked a couple videos and an article, but I didn't get to it. I'm sorry. That highlighted the concessions that he allegedly made to get these extra votes, but I didn't get to really look at it. But I have a feeling some of these things are going to be haunting us into the distant future, and not so distant future.
No, and that's fair. And I say I'm a little bit happy, but I do recognize that there is risk in those concessions. We'll see what transpires between now and next week. Maybe next week we can break down some of those concessions a little bit. But for me, for years, and let me say it differently. It's the rank and file Republicans that are principle or party over principle. And for years, going back to at least Papa Bush, the Republicans, regardless of what impact it had, they had their principle, they had their stance, and they held it down. They were a machine. And it seemed like the Democrats were the ones that were in chaos. The Democrats were the ones that were disorganized. The Democrats were the ones that lacked direction. I'm not suggesting that has improved on the Democratic side, but what the Republicans began to organize around with Trump, I wasn't with. I didn't like. It was scary. It was everything that we've talked about on this show. And so the fact that what they were attempting to organize behind is not being able to be is disorganized. And you have Lauren Boebert telling Marjorie Taylor Greene to get the out of my face, and you got Mike Rogers running up on Matt Gaetz. Like, for me, the chaos is bad for the country in principle. It will mean that laws that we need to be passed probably won't be passed in the timeline or the manner that we need. And that doesn't factor in the concessions that McCarthy has made. But where I find some joy is maybe this boo-boo show that the Republicans were attempting to transform into American democracy won't actually form, won't actually take hold. And a future state will be agree, disagree, left, right, again, like you haven't been initiated in any of the parties. I support you in that position and perspective. But what I want, whether I disagree with the principle or not, are people who actually care about leading this country and aren't hell-bent on being the star of the next great, worst reality show.
It's all a reality show. You mentioned the dust-ups and kerfuffles amongst adults in our government. What it makes me think about as somebody that works in a educational K-12 environment is the fact that sometimes we encourage our kids to watch these kind of things so that they could develop a understanding through the guided exposure to the politics that's available on television. However, they make my job harder when they start, I work with middle schoolers primarily. And so I'll be honest, that shit looked like my middle schoolers.
Yeah.
Their behavior last week, that's exact. When I leave it up to my middle schoolers to get shit done, that's what happens. So when I look at that, I feel there's no adult in the room.
Yeah.
And that all that junk, the cornball arguments popping off when you ain't squashing grapes. Like you know what I mean? Like it's just they're acting like middle schoolers. Whoever says you don't learn how to get by in the adult world in school is a lie. The same nepotism, favoritism, who you know-ism, whatever, all that junk from middle and high school still exists. Popular and pretty people still get treated different even after K-12. All that junk is still the same. Everything you learn to survive, the nepotism to the corruption that you were exposed to in your K-12 education, unless you went to some really exceptional institution, whatever you're exposed to is the same junk in your post K-12 life. Nothing's changed. If you think you didn't get the exposure in K-12, you failed to connect the dots. You're just somebody that saw something but observed nothing.
All right, I'll take that. We're going to keep it moving. What in the sports? So NFL 2022 season officially ended yesterday. Shout out to my Giants. We in the playoffs. Shout out to all the teams that made the playoffs. The Dolphins in there. Who else snuck in? Your boy Gino is in the playoffs. Shout out to Miramar High School. A lot of we'll talk about DeMar Hamlin, but what you say?
I have fallen in love this season with the Detroit Lions.
Well, they didn't make the playoffs, but their mission once they knew Gino was in was to make sure that the Packers and Aaron did not get in, and they achieved their objective with great pride. So all that, what are your any take homes or how would you surmise the NFL season this year? What's your takeaway?
Look, it began and ended with major injuries. I'm sorry, the 22 season is mired and marred by injury for me, from Tua in the beginning to my man with the cardiac arrest at the end. We'll get to that in a second, I'm sure. Yep. But you know what I'm saying? Like, and in between, I'm looking at shortened preseasons and the kind of injuries that seem to pop up a little bit earlier in the regular season. I'm wondering if that's connected. I am seeing otherwise than that, I enjoyed the season. From a purely sports standpoint, I think I brought it up a few episodes back. And since then, I kind of feel like I was proven right by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like your boy Tomlin kept that QB in his pocket, and he kept him out of all that extra media talk about quarterback QB, so he could go out there and develop. He's been out there developing the second half of the season without comparisons to other QBs in his class straight up. I still think Tomlin's, I think we're going to see, I think I like the way the Steelers finished the year and Detroit finished the year. I don't have a history of betting on sports, but if they continue the way they do, I might consider putting some money on one or both of those teams in next year to make some noise.
That's a takeaway. You looking ahead to next season. I think, Tomlin, I think, proved himself as a coach, especially the way they started compared to where they in, because they had a chance. Detroit, I hope their coach gets another season because they believe and they fought so hard to try to get there. If they fire
that man, they're going to be cursed for like 50, 60, 100 years, bro.
Well, that'd be
one of the dumbest Detroit moves ever. The only move equally as dumb was the failure to get their running back in the day, Barry Sanders, a friggin' O-line. That's just if they fire this man, they're just adding to the list of major mistakes they've made as an organization over, I don't know, the history of air.
Well, we'll see because the Texans, they let go of Lovey, and I'm not sure. I can't. It's so hot off the presses. I have no idea what the rationale was. I did briefly read that he went for the 2-point conversion and cost them the first round draft pick, which really didn't have that much difference in value because the Bears, they need a quarterback. The Bears have a quarterback. But the Texans, they've been a trouble. The Texans are the new Detroit Lions as far as I'm concerned. They lack vision, they lack direction.
That rumor, they salty because that man didn't throw the game. Man, get out of here. That's look, man, there's a reason why going back to something else I remember. One, there's a reason why Deshaun wanted to leave. And I still remember that I heard nothing, zero allegations or accusations until he said, "Hey, this organization sucks. I want to leave." And then all of a sudden, it was 22 out the blue.
Yeah.
If you want to categorize me as a conspiracy theorist, do that. You're gonna have to drop a lot of money in front of me to convince me that they had nothing to do with it. That they weren't bitter about him about like taking that big contract and it's like, yo, I don't want to be here.
I'm not taking that bet because it's too convenient for there not to be a larger connection. But again, Dan Campbell, I thought did a hell of he's been doing a great job. The team got better. The team, they may still need a quarterback. I'm not sure. But they fought hard, and I had a soft spot for the Lions this year. Didn't appreciate them beating my Giants, but beyond that, we made the playoffs, so bygones be bygones. I was impressed. I was impressed with that. I think, for me, like you, I agree. I thought it was a competitive season. I like that there's not a true dominant team that on any given Sunday anybody could get got by any and everybody. Even Minnesota looked like they was getting got by the Colts that time, and then they made a historical comeback. So the play was good. I think for you, the exclamation mark on the regular season is Damar Hamlin. And the collective theme still is that the NFL football, not just NFL football, is a dangerous sport.
Violence.
I think with Hamlin, he's out of the Cincinnati hospital. He's in the Buffalo hospital. So God willing, he remains on a path to recovery. He don't got to play football ever again for me. So, just want him to be able to have a happy, healthy life. But Tua, I think, is that theme that they still have to solve for, because you have both instances where he had head trauma and was not responded to with the urgency that they tell us it needs to be responded to. And so I look at the commissioner on that. I look at all the cameras. We have a pylon cam. And so all the angles, all the vantage points, all the people that are watching every inch that football moves, there's no excuse for that. And especially to have a player who had the trauma that Tua did earlier in the season, and then he finished the game this last time, and to not be a Dolphin fan, the Dolphin fans who watched the game was like, what the hell going on with Tua? Because the way he was playing to start the game is not the way he was playing to finish the game. And then you find out he was probably playing the whole second half with a concussion. So there's a problem there. And with all the money that the NFL is getting, I've expected better, but I think we're at the point, not at the point, we've been at the point, but ultimately the players and the fans have to demand better. Go ahead.
Man, I see you on that. Demanding better. You're right. It probably could, should, gotta. But humans are okay with everything they don't see. What happened was you saw the potential reality of the game. Like somebody could die on the field. That's what we saw. We saw it. Don't even they are refusing to use the D word, die. However, they repeatedly say he had to be resuscitated. So if he wasn't dead, he was close. And in some reports they're saying he was resuscitated twice on field.
Yes.
So
I saw that.
Without speaking too savagely or too brutally, you witnessed a softcore death on field, fam?
Yeah.
Come on, dog. I mean,
well,
everybody kind of knew the potential has always been there, right? We kind of always knew. But we kind of figured out, okay, you get KO'd or a bone breaks through your skin first, you're not gonna actually die. There was a phrase, they're still investigating to figure out the cause, but early on people speculated the cause to be a kind of hit that takes place. I forgot the actual specific name, but if hit in this place at the right time, I've heard combat fighters refer to it also, what it could send you into cardiac arrest. Like I've heard,
yes,
like combat martial artists, guys that like study multiple martial arts talk about that kind of thing before. Like, if I catch you in that spot at the right time, it's a wrap, XYZ.
Yeah.
So, but so the fact that we witnessed that, I'm curious to see, because we're gonna keep playing football and people are gonna keep watching. Even though gladiators died in the Roman Colosseum, the people came back the next week and watched more gladiators fight.
They did. Well, for me, no physician, don't know everything with Damar Hamlin, but the perspective I speak from is two different issues. What happened to Damar Hamlin is inherent in the game. That's the risk. When I played, we didn't talk cardiac arrest, but it was your neck, spinal cord injury, being paralyzed, or risk of death from a broken neck. So that is the gladiator. That's the sport of gladiators. And so that is from where I sit, that's part of the game. Should you choose to participate, that's the risk that you take on. And I am aware of that fact for my son, who's playing middle school football, and every stage of the way that he may go. My rationale, just for those who care as a parent, is we can't protect them from everything. There's risk. We take risk the second our eyes open. He will be driving one day. Driving is one of the most dangerous things that we all do. And so football is a game. It's supposed to be fun. It is fun for those who enjoy it, playing, watching, but it is a dangerous sport. What happened to Hamlin, I don't think could have been prevented, and where I believe the NFL as a league showed its capabilities is they saved his life on the field. Now, the long-term effects of playing football in the form of head injury, head trauma, CTE, we've been aware of for a long time. There is no mystery there. That too is part of the risk, but we know that that risk, the long-term risk, is mitigated with the reduction of concussions and with the management of concussions, which the NFL has stated that they are committed to. You hear all sorts of stories, in particular from the Players Association. You still got players that aren't being with CTE, with head trauma, symptoms of head trauma that aren't being taken care of. Players' life health insurance is horrific. Guaranteed money, bonus money, how they take care of the players after they leave the game is horrific. So there's things that are within better control that the NFL is not doing a good job with. And so could be wrong from my vantage point, but that's where I disconnect Tua from Hamlin. But at the end of the day, I think both, without a doubt, represent the risk and the danger inherent in the sport.
Yeah, they do. They very much do. I just, how I don't know if you took Spanish or whatever, but certain times you would use an upside down exclamation mark or upside down question mark in the front and a regular one at the end. That's kind of how I look at the injury situation. You have the Tua in the beginning. That's an exclamation mark. Maybe that's like the upside down one, and then the traditional exclamation mark at the end with Hamlin. But yeah, that's fair. In my memory, the season began and ended with, I mean, some injuries that I wouldn't be surprised if they lost some watchers. As a matter of fact, unconnected story. You remember, I think it was Ohio State, McGahee was playing against, and they went low and took his knee out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember there was a young man, one of my favorite proteges was with me when we were watching that game. And he saw that injury, and we had just recently started to train a little bit speed and agility, And then he saw that game, and he was like, I'm good. He saw that injury. He's standing there next to me. I want to say I was watching with bros, too. I think I was out somewhere watching with bros, but he saw that injury, and he's like, I'm good. I'm good on the football.
No, that's fair. And
things happen, and you lose people's interest, yo.
They may lose some, but the stats suggest that it's still the most watched programming in this country. Hands down, like nothing even compares. Game. Yeah.
Just because baseball still has Masonic symbols all over the field, it is no longer America's game. The field is literally a square. Like, I get it. Yeah. And I guess a lot of people are still struggling to catch that. It's a blatant shout out. I get it. But it's been surpassed as America's game for at least a decade and a half.
Yeah. Well, speaking of surpassed, Georgia is surpassing TCU. So we're gonna keep the show moving, but we may not have much to get to by the time we get to the second half. So all right, so that's what in the sports, NFL, entertaining season, injuries, big injuries, the theme. So before we get out of here, are you entertained? What you watch, what you listening to, what you read, anything you want to share with the audience?
It's nothing in specific. I'm just always all over the place. I was reading about the Ottoman Empire recently. The only reason I got down that rabbit hole is because when the non-Christian, non-white people were being forced out of Hispaniola, Spain, Portugal, they sent ships to receive these people. You know what I'm saying? Particularly the ancient Hebrews and the people that would go on to become today's Jewish people. They sent ships to get them. And so that got me on the radar. And the other thing that got them on my radar was I was looking through the 48 Laws of Power, and an anecdote referred to the Ottoman Empire. So it just sent me down a rabbit hole studying their era in history, some of the leadership strategies that they used, and their impact and political stance in some of the world affairs at the time. So I've kind of been on that.
All right. Well, shoot, man, that's a whole education you just gave us. So I appreciate that. I haven't listened to a whole lot. For whatever reason, I was big on the holiday music during the season, and just as the new year has been upon us, it's been hustle and flowing on my side. So I have my daytime listens. I listen to the binaural beats to start the day. Then when I get into my working, I play some classical music that help my brain follicles keep moving. But I get in a couple, artists here and there. I was back on my boy Jack Harlow, but I did Bad as far as watch the Bad Batch. So our Star Wars animated Bad Batch season 2 is back, and I forget that Disney, they won't release everything. So I had my popcorn that I love. Ain't no judgment. I was ready to binge the thing, but they only had 2 episodes. They had, I guess, 2 parts to the first episode. So a little disappointed I couldn't binge it and just get it all in, but it was live, man. So the Bad Batch is back. So for all my Star Wars,
Disney ain't with that. Disney
Star
ain't
Wars, they know what they're doing.
A whole year and a half. Nah. They did not take a whole year and a half for you to watch the entire series in one day. They ain't doing that. Like the actors, I'm sure some of them actors be hurt. Like they put in 2 years worth of work and you watch the whole series in a day. Man.
It's like a long movie. You know what I mean? But say la vie. It's good. So I'm a Star Wars people. Bad Batch is back.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna check that. Oh, musically. I've been in this little warp. I'm still on the I think when I explained it to you before, I said I was trying to restore factory settings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the playlist, the theme is factory settings, under the idea that like when we reset our computers in the computer software, like I'm resetting my own software, sometimes you have to go back to a restore point. What was the last time that everything was functioning in a way that you were happy with it? So it's my restore point 2010, it's my restore point 2004, 2096, 98, 88, whatever. So as I'm going back to try and figure out my different restore points, I'm kind of realizing the influence music played on all of that. And but in the past 2 weeks here, my mom came and spent 10 days with me. And even before she got here, I was kind of in that musical mood. But once she got here, I got to go down rabbit holes a little bit deeper. But it was a lot of Find 100 Ways. I want to say that's Osborne. Find 100
Jeffrey Osborne.
Ways. The other joint I've been on, I've been doing a little bit of Teddy.
Turn up the lights.
Yes, Teddy Pendergrass is, I didn't realize I'm a Teddy Pendergrass fan. And so In My Time is probably the joint I've been playing the most recently. In My Time. Teddy P, and Marvin Gaye. So it's been them three on heavy rotation. Teddy Pendergrass, Marvin Gaye, and Jeffrey Osborne. What we doing? That's what's going
it.
on in the streets.
I ain't doing nothing. I don't have nothing to add to that. I would be remiss to try to add on to those three legends. So kudos to you for pulling that
old
out.
soul, dog.
Yeah. And you old school. Shout out Fall 97. Fall 97, world famous Zeta
Fall
Kappa
97.
chapter. I won't you could tell them your line name if you want to. I ain't gonna, that's your business to share.
Hit me up if you want to know.
All right. Touche.
Slide in
All right,
DM.
my brother.
What up?
All right, my brother. Well, it's halftime of the college football championship. It looked like Georgia's boo-boo don't stink this season. Let's see if TCU put. I don't even know. Let's see.
Oh, it sounds like a slaughter then.
It's a lot.
Okay.
Hold on, because I think they scored I think they scored to close out the half. Hold on. Yeah, 38-7. So 38-7 at the half. So,
I ain't gonna lie. I'm okay with that.
I can't stand.
I even if none of the teams involved. Okay, here's why I'm okay with the slaughter. The team that I support is an SEC team. So Georgia slaughtering these non-SEC teams help the SEC brand. The SEC brand staying up helps Florida. That's where I'm at with it.
And that's fair. And I think, last year I was on board with Georgia in that regard. But at this point, if I'm being honest, I don't want to see Georgia happy, So that's just, I know that's hating, but I don't mind. I think it's important to be honest with who you are and where you are.
Man, hating is overrated. It's okay. Man, whatever. I'm over that word. Duck them.
All right. Well, that is how I feel.
I heard. I respect how you feel, brother.
All right. Well, we're gonna get out of here. So shout out to our sponsors, Legacy Wear. Your legacy awaits. www.legacywearus.com. Megacore Broad Spectrum Hemp Derived CBD the way nature intended. www.megacorecbd.com. How do you spell CBD? CBD. Aura Rainwater, hydrate and elevate at www.aurarainwater.com. Don't forget, we are on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share. Instagram, like, share. Twitter, like, share, chat back. And Facebook, you'll find all of us, me, Joe Nitty, Mo. Shout out to Mo. He a little bit under the weather, so get better, my brother.
Stay up, most.
Craig, Facebook, Instagram, dropping his knowledge bomb, saying his poetry. We are out there doing our thing. So before we get out, just thoughts of genius. I keep it brief. DeMar Hamlin showed us you have one life to live. You can do it in struggle. You can do it in strife. You can do it in joy. The one thing that is guaranteed is that we will not be here forever. So when DeMar came to, he woke up, he regained consciousness. The first thing he asked was, did we win the game? So that tell you whether I know he didn't wish that for himself. We know that that is not the outcome that he anticipated, desired, or wanted that night, yet it happened. And what we know is he was doing what he loved. So the unsolicited advice to you today is realize you got one life to live. So you might as well be doing, being, sharing, talking about, with, fill in the blank, what you love. Because when it's your time, it's your time. God willing and the creek don't rise, you get as much as you want to need, but it ain't our call. So on that, I say good morning, good afternoon, good night. We'll see you here 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. What is that? 5:30 Pacific. And between now and then, be well.
You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.